Yes, last question of the previous. Yes, I remember that he gave a question where we had a projectile thrown. Uh, it is close in Labrata. Pratyush has got the second highest. I think it is quite close. I just don't remember it. I'll talk about it later on. Okay. Yeah, I remember the question. Okay, just if you, I mean, say a bit of recap for projectiles. We discussed about why one. I have, I mean, say talked about that questions earlier, Ryan. Normally, people who do not have very stable connections, they are. I do not know why it happens. By the way, it must be the system over there. I don't know why some people are logged out when I start the recording. It happened earlier as well. It usually happens not every day, but sometimes it happens actually. So it must be probably network problem. That is what it is. Anyway, yes, I was saying that for projectiles, we have taken up the projectiles on a horizontal surface or are thrown above a horizontal surface. Yes, I am. Good evening. I didn't say that earlier. So we saw that if I throw a projectile from a point on the ground, essentially by taking the point of projection as the origin of the xy coordinates, x-axis running along the ground and the y-axis perpendicular to that one in a vertically upward direction, we obtain in this case that the x and the y motion can be written down separately. So the acceleration on the x-axis is simply 0, while on the y-axis the acceleration turns out to be minus g. So the relevant equations we know. We actually figure out the velocity on the x-axis is simply a constant because there is no acceleration, and that is simply u cos alpha. On the y direction, on the other hand, the velocity is actually undergoing a constant acceleration, which is minus g. That is why for the y direction we have u sine alpha in minus gt, and then we can write down for it displacements simply as u cos alpha into t. While in the y direction it becomes u sine alpha t minus half gt square. These are the displacements actually. Technically speaking, if I wanted the positions, I'll have to know the initial position. But in our case, the particle was projected from the origin itself, so the displacement remains same as the position itself, and so we end up finally the position of the objects that we have. We could therefore locate the positions of the x and the y coordinates of the particle over there, and therefore we can locate where the object is. It's just a recap, right? Just for the sake of some new people, okay? If they haven't, or if you are forgotten the entire thing in any case. And this is what we have. You can also, you see that this is also can be thought of as a vector summation, by the way. Notice in this case that the vector equation remains valid in this case as well. We can write down, in fact, if I denote the initial velocity vector as u vector, for example, in that case, I can write down directly the velocity vector as u minus, or rather plus g vector into t. In this case, it will be plus sign appearing because this is a vector we have in this case, not a component. So we must use a plus sign. Okay, that implies the velocity is nothing but the initial velocity added to that vector, which is always pointing in a downward direction. So, for example, initially if it was this vector, after time t, for example, we have to add an extra vector gt, and so the final velocity turns out to be this way. You can see in this case that the velocity is first of all smaller in size, and it actually is tilted as well. So you can see that as time passes by, this vector grows. So the final velocity will actually keep on rotating and getting shorter. Notice in this case that as time passes by, the velocity will keep on changing till it becomes horizontal. When it becomes horizontal, there is the smallest magnitude of the velocity, because so at this point gt will be this much over there. So we have the resultant equal to horizontal, which is in fact the highest point situation. Subsequently, what happens is that once time becomes more than that, the gt vector will be growing, so that now the velocity once again starts to increase in length, and therefore the speed increases once again. Okay, this question clearly shows that the minimum speed that object can have is when the velocity vector is perpendicular to gt, and that happens exactly the highest point over there. Fine. We can also see the same thing regarding the position actually. Once again, the if I look at the position of the object, the x component is this, the y component is this. In fact, because the acceleration is a constant, I can apply the idea, or we can apply the same equation that we have for the case of constant acceleration in terms of coordinates, but we can also use the vector form. In fact, I could write down, vectorically speaking, that the position vector at some later time t is going to be, this is the position vector actually, so it's going to be ut vector plus half into gt square vector. This is a vector. You see, this is the position vector after later time t. You see, initially it was at the origin, so after time t, the position vector consists of two vectors. One is ut, which is basically pointing in this direction, parallel to u itself. So one of them is ut, this vector. The other one is half gt square, which is actually pointing in this fashion. So the position becomes this. This is the final position vector we have after time t. On it, we are just recapitulating over it. Okay, it's not anything new that we're talking about, just the old thing. Except for that, I am just talking, say that I will just saying that this is applicable for the vector equation as well. So you see in this case that as time passes by, r vector was initially 0. It basically grows and it rotates as well. As time passes by, this becomes more and this becomes more as well. Initially, because the acceleration is in this case present, so initially the rate of growth of this part will be more compared to this part over there. So this will grow initially slowly, but subsequently after some time, the growth in this part becomes more and more over there. Last part I was saying, Shubhankar, that we can always think of the position vector as a sum of two vectors, one of which is parallel to the initial velocity vector, this one, that is ut. The other one is parallel to the gravity, which is half gt square. So that is going to be this vector. This vector initially will be increasing at a slower rate compared to this one, because this is a constant velocity, that is a constant acceleration, because multiplying with t square. Therefore, in a very initial situations when t is quite small number, t square will be further smaller. Therefore, the rate at which the length, this length increases, that is a bit smaller initially, and this will be bigger initially. So initially the r will basically be more like growing this way, but after some time, once the time becomes large enough, the second term dominates, and then this becomes bigger actually comparatively. So if this increase this much, this will become more. So the sum is going to get this way. Obviously, by that time it will hit the ground over there. Anyway, the point is that you can always think of the position vector as a sum of two vectors. One is the parallel to initial velocity, the other one parallel to the gravity. Okay. We can also use this equation to eliminate the time, because t is a common parameter in both the equations. So if I eliminate t, I can write down the equation of the path actually in term in terms of a curve, or like an equation which turns out to be in this case a parabola. For example, I could eliminate t from these two equations, and we end up getting the equation for the path as y equal to x into tan alpha minus gx square divided by twice u square cos square alpha. That is so far what we have done. This is the equation of the trajectory actually, which is nothing but a parabola, the downward-sloping parabola, and that is why it will be looking something like this. That is essentially the shape. We can also figure out that we just remember that this range in this case is known. The range of the projectile we figured out as the range is given by the horizontal range, to be more precise. It is nothing but twice u square sine alpha into cos alpha by g, that I could write down as u square into sine 2 alpha upon g, from where we can see that the maximum possible Tirasa, I said a bit of repeating. Yes. No, not long enough. The last thing is what I said. It will be the range and the time period and the maximum height. This is 3 and that will be all. So in that case, R is this one and the height formula is effectively, what is the formula for a maximum height by the way? Maximum height formula is what? Anyone?
Sir, u square sin square alpha by 2g.
Okay, and what about time of flight?
Sir, 2u sin alpha by g.
Okay, we get u square sin square for 2g and the time of flight is twice u sin alpha upon g. Okay, that is what we have so far. Obviously, we could also utilize the same set of equations even if this is projected in a not from the ground but some other level. Anyway, last time we had a question which I gave. The question said that a particle is projected from. What about the kinetic energy versus x graph? Well, you just draw. It was trouble. Can you draw the kinetic energy versus x graph by the way? At any given x, how much is the kinetic energy? Well, at any given x, the kinetic energy determined by half mv square. V square is going to be vx square plus vy square. But our question is how to figure out for a given x what is the y velocity? How to figure out the y velocity at a given x, by the way? How to figure out the y velocity for a given x? How to figure it out? A y velocity for the given x. What do you think about that? Anyone? How to find the y velocity for a given x? How to figure it out? No one? Nobody? How to figure out the y velocity? Somebody saying something? Ankit?
So for a given x defines?
Again? By using
So for a given x defines?
For a given x, how to find Vy? Y velocity.
Say x coordinate or x velocity?
Velocity, Y velocity.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Pradeep, that can be done. We can use a time actually, or we can use the equation as well. But anyway, time will be much easier because I know that x must be u cos alpha into t. So for a given x, Anik, can you repeat? The voice is not coming clearly actually.
Theta no theta.
Repeat. Can you repeat it once, Anik? Yes, yeah, I mean we know the initial speed and we know the angle projection as well. Those are known quantities. Theta, no, not the theta, but the initial angle over there. Whatever was the initial angular projection, that is known to us. The angle projection basically, that is known to us, and the speed is also known to us. So how to figure out at first Vx tan theta, Vx tan theta, V into tan theta. No, what you could do, for example, is you can utilize the time because I know the x coordinate, so I can find at what t is going to be attained because the x velocity is always the same. Yes, Ishant, the x velocity, at least the way that we have set up the entire thing. The point is the horizontal velocity always remains constant actually. The horizontal velocity always remains the same. I think there's a mistake in this case because you see that the y velocity is u sin alpha minus gt. Okay, so the time has to be obtained by using that the fact that x equal to u cos alpha into t. So it should be actually x equal to u cos alpha into t, giving us time as x upon u cos alpha, and therefore Vy turns out to be u sin alpha minus gt, which implies g into x upon u cos alpha. We have, so Vy is this at any given x. and therefore we can find now the speed as well. We have just done this line for the last 2 minutes, just asking. We have to figure out the speed as a function of the coordinate x. So if I want the speed as a function of coordinate x, I would write down the speed. Rather, actually, the question asked about finding the kinetic energy as a function of x. Actually, so the kinetic energy is half mv square. So in effect, we just look at a graph of v square. Let us assume that m/2 is 1 over there. So I just look at the graph of v square versus x. V square is going to be the speed square. The speed square is nothing but vx square plus vy square. That is what the definition is. Vx is just a constant. It is u cos alpha. So I get in this case u square cos square alpha, while vy square I have to obtain from there. And so I obtain in this case the square of this quantity, u sine alpha minus gx upon u cos alpha whole square. That is what I need. So in that case, if I expand this up, I get u square cos square alpha and u square sine square alpha when expand it. So I am going to get u square for these two. For this part, I am going to get g square into x square u square cos square alpha. And if I multiply these two, I'm going to get in this case twice into u gets cancelled out, so I get gx tan alpha. That is what we have got so far. The speed square as a function of the x coordinate. So strictly speaking, if we actually complete the square over here, in that case, in fact, if I just try to complete this square, I get u square plus I can pull out common g square upon u square cos square alpha, and I can pull out common. What remains is x square, and then minus, we have to multiply with u square, divide with g square. So I get twice u square upon g, then multiply with cos square alpha as well. So I get sine alpha cos alpha, that is nothing but the range actually, the horizontal range into this. That's what I get. I could write down that one in terms of the horizontal range. What you wrote in left side, this one, right? Or which I have rubbed. They are nothing but the formulas for the range, height, and the time period actually, which you already know. This is simply the range of the projectile. So I could write down in this case v square equal to u square plus g square upon u square cos square alpha into x square minus, I can just write on r into x, capital R being the range actually. So I get r into x. So I can just complete this square as 2 into x into r by 2 plus r square by 4 minus r square by 4. That will give us a square over there, and I have to open it up. So I get u square plus g square by u cos square alpha into x minus r by 2 whole square. And then open a bracket, multiply this with that. So I get minus g square by u square cos square alpha into r square by 4. But r square by 4 implies the square of the range by 4. So that becomes in this case 4 u square, u raised to 4 rather, sine square alpha, cos square alpha by 4g actually, 4g square in fact. So 4g square cancels out, so cos square alpha cancels out, we get u square sine square alpha essentially, and that gives us finally the velocity squared as a function of x actually as v square equal to, if I just cancel out cos square alpha and u square alpha, I get u square minus u square sine square alpha, which makes it in this case u square cos square alpha actually, and then plus this quantity g square by u square cos square alpha, and then x minus r by 2 whole square. That is what I'm getting in this case. Okay, the screen is becoming hazy. Oh, that's bad. What about the other people, by the way? Can anyone take a snapshot and then too hazy? Oh, then is it my problem? It is fine. Oh, interesting. Some people it is fine, some people it is not fine. Can you just, anyone who is having a clear screen, take up a snapshot and post it in the group over there so people can see that?
Sir, tell them to stop chatting. Otherwise, they're gonna take a snapshot.
Oh, is it? Why? You said,
So the message keeps on coming up.
oh, acha, you are doing a mobile phone.
Is guarded.
Oh, acha, acha, acha.
Somebody sent.
Somebody sent. Okay, good. Okay, you can just see Ryan, the WhatsApp group. By the way, the snapshot of the screen is there. I can hardly do about.
Sir, can you repeat the top part of the right hand side?
This one,
Right hand side. Yes, sir.
this part.
Very easy.
I just look at lower part is clear. I have effectively trying to complete the square because 2u square by g sin alpha cos alpha is nothing but the horizontal range that I wrote down as r actually, and then so it was actually something like x square minus rx is what I got actually. I got x square minus rx. So I just try to complete this square by, in this case, writing down as x square minus 2 into x into r by 2. Added up r square with 4, subtracted r square with 4 as well. And then the next step is simply the square of this. I plug the value of r by 2 whole square over here and simplify that. Okay. Or not okay. Oh, well.
Okay, sir.
My WhatsApp is not opening yet. Today there was a network problem and there was also power cut actually for a long time. It just came a bit earlier. I mean, it's around 6 something. You have sent. Fine. Anyway, let's. Okay, I mean, say actually, if you are not familiar, someone again saying something. The sound is not coming through. By the way, Anik, you are saying something. Yes, I know Nilavrata. It's actually DGP hasn't placed in red zone. Again, Anik, I mean, see, your voice is not coming through actually. I don't know why. Just write it over there, okay? The voice is not exactly coming very clearly. Maybe it is my network or your network doesn't know, but the voice is not very clear enough in this case. Is my voice coming clearly to you? Yes, okay. Okay, so at least it is not my problem, that much is sure enough. Fine. What I was saying is actually, if you're not, in fact, familiar, I don't think you'll be familiar with coordinate geometry yet. It turns out if you look at this particular equation, this actually is an equation of an ellipse, or rather, it will be a hyperbola, by the way. Yeah, this equation represents something called a hyperbola, in fact. The last two line, last implies there. Somebody has taken a snapshot, Ryan. You can just check the group, the WhatsApp group. I think it is given over there. Somebody took a snapshot, and I cannot open my own WhatsApp right now, by the way. You can check it out, I hope. Repeating the last two lines, I don't know which last two I'm talking about. Have you checked it out, Ryan? Okay, fine. Well, at least we have got the velocity. I mean, say this kinetic energy as a function of x. That is one. I'm quite sure enough. Coming back to the previous or last day's question that we had. The question was saying that there's a particle projected from some point on the ground. There are two walls. Walls supposed to be vertical. These were also vertical. Each of them has a height A, and the separation between them is twice A. And the projectile is thrown from the left side so as to just clear the two walls. So we just throw from the left side so that it is able to clear the two walls, just clear the two walls. That is how, okay, the diagram is not very nice. That is what situation was. It is able to clear the wall. The speed with which it was projected, that was, I think, 2 times of root over of A into G. That was the speed of the projection. The height is A for both the walls. We needed in this case to figure out the time which is spent between the two walls. That was the time we have to figure out in this case what time is
So speed is what?
the speed.
So the speed of projection.
It's 2 into root over AG actually. 2 into
Okay.
root over of A into G. Okay. Two into root over of A into G. Okay. We had to in this case figure out the time that it takes or it's taken by the object to pass between the 2 points. What to find the time interval between the two walls. That is what we found out actually. We had to figure out in this case the time between the two walls. How long it takes to pass theta. Theta is not given, but the question says it has been thrown in such a way so as to just clear the two walls. Theta is not given actually, or was it given? Okay, let me check the question again. I don't think it was given by the way, but still verify.
It's not given,
It was not given.
sir.
A particle is projected with velocity 2 into root of A into G so that it just clears two walls of equal height A, which are a distance 2A from each other. So no, we have not been given the angle by the way. The angle of projection is not given, but enough information has been given so that it can be eliminated, or you can just find it out over if you wish. So have you done that? So last day's question by the way, it was asked on Thursday morning, I believe. So anyone has done it? Nobody. Oh, the chat frozen. My network which was very strong and not good. Okay. Okay, Apratik. Yeah, Durga was placed in red zone because people are, once it was open, people started doing birthday parties, they started attending, rallies and all those things. I just saw some days back, I think TMC possibly took out a rally and went through this particular location. Lots of people. It was sealed. Okay. Where do you live, Harjati? What region? I know about sealing of Sepco Township and city center is sealed as well. Interesting. Which region? City center? Okay. Near Fiji. Oh, acha. Yes, Shubhankar, you can do that. Main building. Oh. Yes, that is what happens usually. Sometimes, yes, somebody posted a picture. Shubhankar was there. One-minute walk. It is not sealed. Oh, interesting. But Anushka is possibly living close by, so she should know better, isn't it? how much it is? 2 into root over of 2a by g. Let us see. No, there's one mistake actually. There's an extra 2 inside this square root that you have got. It is, you have got an extra 2 inside this square root in fact. Hold on, somebody's calling it seems. Hey. Root over of 4a by g, yeah, that is fine actually. That is okay, Nilabrata. It is root over of 4a by g actually. Yes, Ishan, that is correct again. What is happening to your voice? Your voice is not coming through on it. Yes, the right answer in this case is 2 into root over of a by g actually. So how many of you have not got this answer, or how many of you have got this? What type is reaching you? Nothing is reaching me, Onik. Are you trying to speak? Because nothing is coming to me. In fact, right now your microphone is off. Got the answer? Okay, fine. Okay. Shubhankar not got. I mean, Anushka, have you done the question? Yes. Okay. Let us see. Ask someone. 2 root a by g. Fine. It's okay. Arnav is here. Arnav, have you done the question? Last time you were there, I believe. Yes, you were there. Atri, have you done it? I do not know whether people. 2 root a by g. Fine, that is okay. Atul, have you done it? Done, Ayush. Okay. Devjyoti, you have logged in from 2 devices, it seems. 2 root a by g. Almost. Okay. Riktam, Ishant has done it. Nominal, Param. 2 root a by g is fine, that's okay. Okay. Priyanjana, have you done the sum yet? Yes, Devjyoti, I can see that you have logged in from 2 devices, but that's okay. Done. Got the answer, yes. Okay, fine. Message is not going, the message is coming out. Acha, it's from the other device. Acha, fine. Okay. So, how have you done it? There are 2 so far over there. Interesting. Okay, fine. Done, Rahul. Okay. Sudipto, are you there? Have you done it? Yes, Shubhankar, what I have to ask? Speak up if you want. Sudipto, are you there? Are you still present, or you're just sleeping? Logged in and went away. No answer. Swarnavo, what about you? And Tiasa, have you done it? Ryan has gone, it seems. Shrestha is here as well. Shrestha, have got the answer? No one is replying, it seems. Tiasa, done. Okay, fine. And the ideas are just simple. If we had not done, okay, the value of sine of tan inverse of -1. tan inverse of -1 is actually minus pi by 4. So that's to be negative. It's not 3 by root 10. Who said that, by the way? I said, what is that? Tan raised for -1? What is that?
So no, sir. So sine into tan inverse root 3.
Oh, sine of tan inverse root 3.
No, only 3.
Only 3.
Yes, sir.
That is not a standard value. You can just take tan inverse of 3 as, for example, theta. So I get tan theta as 3. Sine theta becomes 3 by root over of 10. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's correct.
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. No problem, Anushka. Okay, if you have no, the idea in this case is that you can actually treat this part of the motion as a projectile as well. If we denote the speed at this point as v, for example, the range is going to be twice for this part of the projectile. Quite obviously, if I consider the angle, I mean, say we do have in this case, yes, Onik, you just send it me, I'll allow it. If this angle with theta, for example, in that case, we actually end up getting, you notice that the x component velocity is the same, in fact, throughout. First of all, we do have this equation that v at this height is going to be root over of u square plus minus 2 into g into the height. That is what the relationship is. V is in fact root over of, or the v square, let us say. It is turning out to be, if the angle of projection over here is alpha to begin with. In that case, the speed can be written down a little bit bigger. Okay, that is correct. Well, what I was saying, okay, all of you have done this question, or should I mean, do it? You haven't done, I have not yet got the request, Anik. The speed 2 root ag is u actually, initial speed. This is initial speed, in fact. 2 root ag is initial speed, okay. Okay, I think Shubhankar, you do one thing, you try it once again, okay, because most people have done it. So you just try it over there. Some people who have not yet done it, just try to do it on your own before we do the solution, okay? Because it's only 3 or 4 of you who haven't done it. Mostly the other people have already done it, by the way. So there's, it will be useful if you kind of try it once and then we can just try it again, okay? Okay. Now, what if, for example, the projectile is thrown at some height over there? Arkadeep could not do, tried many times. Okay, fine. Let me ask another question. I'll just send you the solution in the group. Okay, I'll just send the solution in the group over there. It'll be useful, fine, because otherwise, if I do it over here, we'll have all done it. Okay. The next question that we have, we already have seen that I can, from a height, if I mean, say from the ground, if I throw, in that case, the path is going to be parabolic path. I know all the details about that. But what if, for example, if I throw it not from the ground, but say from some height? We, in fact, last day attended a question where I throw the object from a certain height, a tower over there, a tower from some height of a tower. We throw a stone and it was able to cover certain distance, isn't it? You remember data of the last time question, by the way, the question had a tower of height, it was, I think, 20 meter, I believe. The height of a tower was, this question we did it last time over there. There was a tower whose height is 20 meters, and from the top of this tower, we throw stones at a speed of 40 meters per second. But the angle is not given right now. Well, it does, Shubhankar. It does involve the components, and we have been doing that. We have, for example, broken the component of the velocity into 2 parts, horizontal and vertical. It is less because already breaking the problem into 2 parts.
Sir,
Yes.
so is my voice okay now?
Now it is okay. Now, yeah, it is not coming. It's coming now. Okay. Okay, so Yes. So I was saying that we had the last time attended this question where we had a tower of height 20 meters, and from the top of this tower, say that yes, we have did that question when the angle projection was given. By the way, the original we did that question when the angle projection was given at that point, and asked to figure out what distance strikes the uh, ground through the floor of the through the foot of the tower. That we did, isn't it? That I remember. The question right now is a bit different, by the way. In this case, the angle is not given. We are just projecting it in this case in different directions. The speed remains the same, 40 meter per second, but the and the height is also same, obviously. But the angle is variable. I can change the angle. I throw it quite obviously. If I throw it uh, horizontally, it is going to be going like this, isn't it? If I throw it a bit angle, it will just go like this. More angle becomes like this. More angle maybe is just going to be a bit coming closer. So the question is no. The question is asking in this case at what angle it must be thrown so that it strikes the ground from the foot of the tower as far as possible. I want in this case to maximize the range on the ground. So at what angle it has to be projected if I want the range to be as large as possible. That is the question right now over there. Okay. Last time it was the angle question was given and we had to figure out the distance at which it was striking the ground. In this case, the angle is not given, but the angle is now variable. We can just change the angle. I can just change a different angle, and I just want in this case to throw it at such an angle that it strikes the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower. So at what angle it must be done? That's the question. In fact, it would be useful if I just utilize or introduce some symbolic notations. This becomes, say, I'm going to call this u, 14 meter per second. The height is h, which is 20 meter. The question is at what angle it must be projected so that it strikes the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower. No, it is not 45-degree, Ryan, Tiasa, Ishan. It is not. It is 45-degree only when you just throw it in the horizontal ground. Okay, if I want it to pass the horizontal plane through the point of projections, if I just want that it should be passing this plane as far as possible from the point of projection, then it is going to be 45 degree. But it is not so for the case that we have just asked right now. In this case,
So projected.
what?
So what would be at what angle it must projected?
At what angle it should be projected so that it strikes the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower. Okay. At what angle it should be projected so that it is going to strike the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower. Obviously, there is no horizontal acceleration on it. It is just the projectile itself has only one acceleration, which is along the vertical direction. In the horizontal direction, there is no acceleration as such. Okay. But the point is that we are throwing it not from the ground. If I just throw it from the ground, then quite obviously the range is going to be maximized at 45 degrees that we have seen earlier, because the range is on the horizontal plane, the range is given by u square by g into sine of 2 alpha. So if I wanted to maximize, it must be use u square upon g, where the angular projection is 45 degrees. But in this case, this is not so. So we must start it from the basics effectively. How should we throw it if I wanted to go on the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower? Repeat the question. I said, at what angle? At what angle? Are you still there, or you have left the meeting? Argadeep is here. Yes. I said, at what angle? 60 degrees. No, Rupam. Anyway, Argadeep, the question said at what angle it should be projected so that it falls on the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower. Okay. And Rupam, why do you think there's going to be 60 degrees, by the way? I mean, did you calculate it or just asking? Okay, no problem. In fact, I don't think. In fact, you see that it should not be much deeper. If it is, in fact, at 45 degree, it is already going to be well steeper. If you just make it steep, it's going to fall. Well, it depends, by the way. 0 degree. 0 degree along the x-axis. If you throw it horizontally, no, that is again not the correct answer, by the way. If you throw it horizontally, it just go straight like this. So it obviously I do not know whether this go maximum or no, but I know this is not the maximum. I do not know exactly how far it goes. We can calculate it, but it's not going to be the maximum. That won't be true. Last part of the question: what is there to understand, Shubhankar? I said if I throw it at, say by changing my angle, at what angle it must be thrown so that because I know Argadev, I know it's only 45 degrees. That is why you have to just throw it, Shubhankar, at such an angle so that it strikes the ground as far as possible from the foot of the tower. Okay. That will be, Rahul. It can be done definitely, but it becomes too. No, Ishan, not the maximum. Not the time of flight. You have to maximize this distance over there. You have to maximize the. Well, if you no, it's not 53 degrees. If you maximize the time of flight, it will go as far as possible, because it is the horizontal displacement is simply the horizontal velocity multiplied by the time. But the horizontal velocity also changes, by the way. If you want to maximize time, the time also depends on the angle, and the horizontal velocity also depends on the angle. So that is, they are not the same thing. Maximizing time of flight will not give you the maximum range. In fact, that is not correct, because the maximum speed is not a constant. U into root over of 2h by g. No, that is not okay. Actually, you're talking about the maximum range. I asked about the angle actually. Can you find the angle? I don't know. Because I do not remember exactly what was the maximum range. Can you figure out the angle once? I don't know, and then tell me. $37. I don't think so. 20 meter plus. I hope the values are the same. Use okay, you can take G as 9.8 by the way. No, Arkadeep, it is not okay, I believe. Maximum range cannot be independent of theta actually. That won't be okay. Say obviously the maximum range will be independent of the angle, but say at what angle is going to happen, it will definitely depend on some angle, because if I throw it, for example, this way, it will actually go less distance. If I throw it horizontally, it will go a bit that way. So this way, it might end up getting a bit farther, isn't it? I think the values are these u square 2ph. Yeah, it is okay. How much it is? Tan inverse of 4? No. No, that is not okay. How are you doing it, by the way? No, Nilavra, that's not correct. Sine inverse of 3 by 4, no. 16.4 degrees, Ryan. How do you get that? Okay, Rupam, I'm waiting. Ryan, how did you get 16.4 degrees, by the way? Can you explain? How did you get 16.4 degrees? Okay, no problem. See, the good thing or useful thing will be in this case, highest range sine square theta should be minimum. Okay, Anik, I'm waiting. Theta is what? The projection angle, right? Is this angle theta you have taken? That's the angle theta you have taken. Yes. Can do, no problem. Just wait a couple of minutes. In that case, why do you want to minimize sine square theta for the highest range? Are you getting sine square? In that case, you can just put theta equal to 0 by the way. In that case, it will be minimum. Hint. Yes, Ishant. The idea will be rather simple. In effect, if I take the distance at which strikes the ground as S, for example, in this fashion, what I can do, for example, is I can find out okay, but that will be not exactly okay, Ryan, because the inside the square also something was there. You see, Ishant, what you could do is you try to take the distance as S at which strikes over there. From the X and the Y motion, doesn't matter, Shubhankar, whatever you call it, that doesn't make much difference. What you can do is you can find out or eliminate the time parameter again to get an equation which relates. You just write on the horizontal and the vertical motions and eliminate the time parameter. Fine. So that we end up getting an equation involving theta and S as well. Now that equation that we shall have, you can actually convert that into a quadratic in tan theta. In fact, we can convert that equation to a quadratic in tan theta, and then use the fact that the discriminant is positive because tan theta has to be a real number. The discriminant is going to be positive, and then you can obtain a maximum for S over there. Okay? You can utilize the quadratics. Repeat. Yes, I said, first of all, write down the X and the Y motion, the horizontal and the vertical motion. Write down, let's say the X axis runs this way, the Y axis runs this way, like this. So the angle, the point of projection is actually 0, h in fact. Okay. What I was saying is you first write down the X and the Y motion separately, eliminate T, the time, eliminate it to get an equation relating S and something in theta, say T. Then what you can do is you can effectively convert that equation into a quadratic in tan theta. Okay, do it as a quadratic in tan theta, and then use the fact that this quadratic must have real roots, so discriminant needs to be positive, and that will give us a condition on S actually. Rmax is, can you tell me, Abhijit, the corresponding angle? Because I know the answer for the angle, I don't remember the answer for the maximum range. Just find out the angle and tell me, then I can verify. Oh, the problem, it seems very difficult or what? People have not been able to do it. But it seems to be quite a natural question. Play games and try to throw stones as far as possible from some height over there. Oh no, this is what written the angle. I think it is still not okay. For the given data, the answer will Give the formula. What formula, Shubhankar? There is no formula. I mean, you have to obtain the. You should not always rely on formulas. Okay. Let me see the data. Right? I mean, some people are getting so much. So, is data the same that I wanted to give it, or something else? No, data is fine. Let me do that if I'm not able to finish. What I was saying is I'll just utilize the same idea. Suppose that I throw it from this particular point. First of all, the x motion. In this case, because the x velocity remains the same, and let's say theta is the angle of projection over there. In that case, I could write down at whatever time it strikes the floor, the ground rather, it is quite obvious that during that time, the displacement of the x-axis must be s. So if I take the time of flight as capital T, by the way, in that case, s must be u cos theta multiplied with t. That is the horizontal displacement. And what? No, Abhijit, it is not. The answer is 30 degrees actually. Let us see. S is going to be u cos theta into capital T, and during the same time, its vertical displacement actually, you could see that it goes from here in the vertical direction down to the ground level. So the vertical displacement is negative. It's minus h in fact. I'm taking upward as my positive direction. So the displacement along the downward direction is negative. That is why during this particular time duration, it has to be, yes, t is the time of flight over there. T is time from here to here. Isn't it quite obvious? I said that. T is the time of flight, okay? So during that time of flight, the displacement along the x-axis must be s, which is u cos theta t, and the y direction, the displacement has to be minus h. So that I end up getting minus h equal to u sine theta multiplied by t minus half into gt square. These equations must be valid. Okay, both the equations are correct in fact, because during this time it goes a horizontal displacement of s this much, and it also falls the height which is equal to h. So the vertical displacement is therefore minus h again. And from these equations I can eliminate t as usual. Notice in this case that I can write down t equal to s by u cos theta and put it in this equation, so that the relevant equation that I'm going to get over here is this means therefore that minus h, it is u sine theta. Instead of t I put over there s upon u cos theta. Instead of t I put s upon u cos theta from the previous equation minus half into g into once again s square upon u square into cos square of theta. Okay, that is what we have. Why? Because the displacement is directed, Rupam will say, upward direction I'm taking as positive, isn't it? My upward direction was positive, so it is going down. So that is why displacement is negative, isn't it? I have taken the y coordinate upwards positive. So if something goes this the opposite direction, it's negative. For same reason that we have taken the acceleration is minus g as well. The acceleration is minus g in the vertical direction because of the same reason, because my y-axis runs upward and the acceleration is downward. That is why I have taken as negative. In the same fashion, in this case, my y-axis goes up, but displacement points down. That is why it's negative. Always remember that these displacement is always means a directed quantity. In this case, I'm talking about the components. So they're again scalar quantities. They can be positive, they can be negative, they can be zero as well. In our case, whatever points opposite our chosen reference direction, that is negative, simply enough. In this case, that is why the displacement in the y direction is negative. Anyway, so we get this particular equation, which I could rewrite down over here. You can rewrite this equation as I just write down, just cancel u, I get tan theta over there. So I have in this case the equation minus h equal to s into tan theta. It looks pretty much same as or similar as the equation of trajectory that we had in case of projectile, but only thing is that instead of y we have minus h actually, isn't it? This minus gs square upon 2u square into cos square theta. That is what I get so far. The trick in this case I was saying that is to convert this equation into a quadratic in theta, tan theta rather, okay. That could be done by writing down 1 by cos square theta is nothing but sec square theta, and sec square theta is 1 plus tan square theta. So what I do is I write down 1 by cos square theta, this particular part over here. This portion 1 is already over there, so 1 by cos square theta I write down as sec square theta, and then we could also bring this h on the other side, so I get 0 equal to h plus s into tan theta, and then minus gs square by 2u square, and the numerator we get sec square theta, which I write down as 1 plus tan square theta. It's a very useful trick that we utilize, at least I utilize much often in projectiles over there. Okay, so that is what I have got. 0 equal to h plus s tan theta minus gs square by 2u square. This is now becoming a quadratic in tan theta actually. So let's rearrange. I want in this case tan square theta with a positive coefficient. So what I do essentially is multiply, I take everything on the other side, left side, I bring everything on the left side so that this will become, this minus become plus on the other side, this plus will become minus, this plus will also become minus. And then we multiply it throughout by 2u square upon gs square. Okay, I multiply it throughout by twice u square upon gs square. So that this will now become 1 plus tan square theta only. So I write on that one first, tan square theta, I write on 1 later on. Then this part will become what? First of all, it becomes negative minus. Then 2u square multiplies over there and we divide by s square. So only s remains denominator. So I get in this case is 2u square into g, or g will be denominator. 2u square tan theta divided by g into s. That's what I get. I have in this case multiplied by 2u square and divided by gs square. So all this gets cancelled out and we are left with this factor. Then similarly this minus h is going to become minus 2u square h upon gs square, and that this 1 is going to remain. So that 1's remain over there. This is what the equation has now become. Okay, so that equation we have got so far. Shubhankar, I have simply rephrased the equation. Okay, just check it out. Check the algebra. I have simply taken everything on the left side, multiplied with 2u square by gs square to get a quadratic in tan theta. Simply rephrase or just transform the entire equation. Okay, just take everything on the left side and multiply with 2u square upon gs square, so that we end up getting 1 plus tan square theta minus 2u square s upon gs square, which is 2u square by gs into tan theta minus 2u square h upon gs square.
So means multiplying the both side too.
Obviously, you can't simplify an equation. You just get a quadratic in tan theta. I said I simply multiplied. I just take everything onto the left side first of all, and then multiply throughout the equation with 2u square upon gs square. Okay. Is it fine, Shubhankar?
Yes, and okay.
Okay. And so we get a quadratic in tan theta now. If you wish, I can just simply write down slightly different form. I just write on 1 first, and then I just write on finally in this way 1 minus 2u square h by gs square equal to 0. That is the equation that we've got finally. This is a quadratic. This is a quadratic in tan theta. Tan theta is, you can think of tan theta like, say, for example, I can replace tan theta as z, for example, then I get z square minus 2u square by gs z plus some constant. So it becomes a quadratic essentially. Not a complex number z, but just a variable, okay? Anyway, the point is that this is now a quadratic in tan theta. The point is, when we solve this quadratic, quite obviously, I will get the roots as a real number, isn't it? Because I'm going to throw it at some angle. So tan theta, whatever I solve for, it has to be real. Okay. So I should say that because since this equation must have real roots in tan theta, therefore discriminant needs to be positive. Fine. So that is what the next step is. This is a quadratic in tan theta. The quadratic equation in tan theta. Since tan theta must be real, therefore discriminant must be positive. Since tan theta is real, so D must be positive, the discriminant of this quadratic, and that D in this case is nothing but B in this case is this factor. We remember the standard form of a quadratic equation. The standard form of a quadratic equation is what? It is ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. That is a standard form. The discriminant is nothing but b square minus 4ac. That is a D factor, the discriminant. If D is positive, then this equation has real roots. If it is negative, it has non-real roots. If it is 0, in that case, there will be a repeated root basically. D in this case is b square minus 4ac. And when there is a repeated root or D becomes 0, what is that? Question mark, by the way? Delabrata, what is the meaning of question mark? Equal to what? Yes, we apply that. So b square in this case, this full thing. So I get 4u raised power 4 divided by g square s square minus 4 into a is 1, c is this factor. So I get 1 minus twice u square h divided by gs square equal to, that is a discriminant, this must be positive. That is what I want. That will give us, I can just cancel out 4 throughout. Remember that I have to obtain a bound for s actually, the distance s at which it was tracking the flow. Fine. So I just cancel out 4 throughout and multiply with g square s square. Okay. Cancel 4 and multiply with, because it's a positive number, it will not change the inequality sign. Multiply throughout with 4. What is the answer? So, Dipto, how much have you got? Oh, I just rubbed it, by the way. So, Dipto, how much have you got? Can you say that? $45. No. I have, oh, sorry. Oh, no, it's positive, by the way, more than equal to this. Sorry, that is more than equal to this. Mistake, okay. You have, yes, I have. Okay, the discriminant must be positive because that is real, so D must be more than equal to 0 actually. S max got, then what? Then you have to just see. No, Onik. The point is the maximum range is going to be for what angle? The point is, as far I'm concerned, no, already that's not correct. What I'm doing is I'm just saying that, okay, just wait, okay, and let me see what we have. What I'm getting from here is u raised power 4 plus twice u square gh.
Max equal to u root over of u square minus 2gh by.
Yeah, that's correct. The question is what theta is going to be attained. That tan theta. Point is, from here I can see therefore that s square is less than equal to u square into u square plus 2gh divided by g square. I have basically divided by g square this side, pull out u square common. So I'm getting something like this. This one, yes. If you say, Ishant, I have rubbed the equation by the way, so just check back if you have written it down. Normally, when you have a quadratic equation and you want real roots, then discriminant must be positive. So if you look back at the original equation that I have rubbed already over there, it was written at this point. So you see that the part B over there was minus twice u square by gs actually. That was B, and then C was essentially this factor 1 minus 2 square h by gs square. So what I did was I used b square minus 4ac as a discriminant and made it positive because I required tan theta to be real number. Okay, because it will be some angle over there. I'm saying there's some angle, it has to be real number because tan of any angle between 0 and 90 degrees is nothing but real number. That is why I require tan theta to be real, and therefore d must be more than equal to 0 for this quadratic. And doing that, we have obtained this expression. Now I just multiply, divide 4 throughout because that is common, and then I just multiply with g square s square throughout to obtain this equation, inequality rather. And then I just bring this part over here, so it becomes positive, and then divide by g square. So I end up getting this expression. Fine. And from here I can therefore see that s must be always less than equal to, because s square is always less than this value over there. So s must be less than equal to.
Sir, I have got a very easy method for this.
What easy method by the way?
Sir, first of all, sir, can we consider this motion as a motion in an inclined plane?
This motion, well, I know what you are pointing. That can be done, but right now we haven't done it. That is why I didn't take that up over there. It can be done, yes. You have to just
Sir,
think of
it will take me just 3 lines to do that.
Well, my quadratic is not 5 lines either. The point is I have to explain too much. Otherwise, I could do it much easily. But anyway, fine. If you think that is, I haven't yet done projectile, isn't it? I haven't yet done projectile on the inclined plane actually. That is why as well we didn't take that one. But if you've done it, it's fine. It is okay, no problem.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So how much have got by the way?
Sir, 30 degrees.
Okay, that's fine. So S is therefore turning out to be less than. There is actually a range, a maximum range formula for inclined plane. Actually, you apply that one itself. That can be done, definitely. In this case, therefore, S must be less than equal to u by g into root over of u square plus 2gh. That becomes the largest possible value of S. Ishant, is it clear what I have talked about the discriminant by the way? So the maximum S turns out to be this number, this particular part. This is going to be the largest possible value of S. It cannot be more than this. However, the question is what I'm looking for is the corresponding angle. Okay, I want in this case that this S should be attained. Now you notice that if S becomes equal to S max, then this will become equal, this will become equal, this will become equal, which implies D becomes 0 in this case. Because in this case, S is equal to S max, so that D will have to be 0, isn't it? If D becomes 0, you see, if you remember the roots of this quadratic, the roots of the quadratic are given by x equal to minus b plus minus root over of d by 2a. So if d is 0, the only root is minus b by 2a. And therefore, in our case as well, the corresponding tan theta for the minimum or maximum range over there, I need that tan theta to be equal to minus of b by 2a. But b was what? If you just go back and look at the original equation, which I have rubbed already in this case. If you look back at a copy, you will find that b is nothing but minus 2u square by gs actually. So this has to be divided by twice it. 2 is just, a is 1 in this case in our equation. So that is why the corresponding maximum range will be achieved when this maximum will be attained when tan theta will become equal to minus b by 2 is what I want, and we'll go back and look at that particular quadratic to check out what is b and a and c actually. So in that case we get minus of b by 2a, that in our case will actually give us twice u squared by gs, and then a is just 1, I get 2. But this s must be s max because that is what the value of s is in this case. That is why I have got this particular thing. If you put it back, u squared by g and s max is this expression. I just plug it back, u by g into root over of u square plus 2gh. So g can be cancelled out, u can be cancelled out. How come d becomes 0? For the maximum, by the way, see equal to sign and hold, it will become equal to. For if I want s to be maximum, then s will be equal to this number, and so d will become 0. And because this one I obtained by making d less than equal to 0. So if the equality is holding, then d must be 0. If d becomes 0, in that case, I'll obtain the value of tan theta as minus b by 2a from the original equation. Okay, fine, Ankit. As a result of which, we end up getting tan theta as u upon root over of u square plus 2gh. You can see in this case that had the height been 0, by the way, if the projectile was launched from the ground, in which case the height will be 0. In that case, this part will be 0, and which will end up getting tan theta as u by u, which is 1, which implies 45 degree. So you get the answer which we know if h is 0, but this can also give us the answer for any height, in fact, and can also give the answer for a depth as well. Yes, you can plug the numbers now, by the way. In fact, we did this question earlier. It was last class, whatever in fact, last I gave the data for the maximum range itself. So it was 20 root 8 meter, I think. I don't exactly remember, by the way. But you can plug it over there now. This is S max. It's useful to take G as 9.8 actually. So if you take that one, U square plus, hold on, I'll just tell you by the way how much it is. U was 14 meter per second, so I get 196 plus 2 into 9.8 into 20. So that makes it how much? 2 into 9.8 into 20. Root of 588. This, okay, square root. Root of 588 is what I'm getting. Multiply with 14 divided by 9.8. That's around how much I've got? Yes, only that is correct. This equation does prove that the angle of projection has to be lying between 0 and 45 degrees, quite obviously. 34.6 around. No, that is not okay. It won't be 20 root 8 actually. That won't be. Because that is coming out to be around 56 something, but the answer will be around 36 point something. 26 or something. It's not exactly okay. Let me see how I'm forgetting by the way. First of all, in our case, you see that we can put the value. In fact, this becomes quite simple actually. You notice therefore this this maximum angle is right on tan theta m, which implies looking at the maximum possible range angle actually. U by G into U square plus 2px. If I just look at corresponding tan theta m over here, I can just divide by u. I just pull out this u square and cancel it out to get u 1 plus 2gh upon u square. Okay. And if I put the numbers, what we have to plug the values in this case, that turns out to be 1 upon root over of 1 plus 2 into 9.8 into 20 divided by 196, 14 square basically. I took as 9 point because 98 into 2 is 196 in fact. So if I just simplify this up, 1 by root over of 1 plus, we get 1098 multiplied by 4 divided by 196. So I get 98 to the 9, we get just 2 actually. This becomes 1 by root 3. The tan theta max is turning out to be 1 by root 3, which implies theta must be 30 degrees. Okay, that is what the answer is. Thus, how can I get u? It was given 14 meter per second was given. U was given to with 14 meter per second. You see the question again. I gave u as 14 meter per second. Only variable was theta, which was not given. $20 meters per second. Oh, acha, no. Acha, 20 meter was a height actually. It is not in general implies this result in general is correct. By the tan time is going to be this. That is general. That is always correct. Right? That part is general. That much is okay. I have used in this case the general. I would say throw it from any height and obtain the corresponding angle for the maximum possible horizontal range. I mean range on the ground actually. So this is general. For the given numbers that I put in, that is not general. Yeah, this is generalized. This is always correct. Tan theta max is u by root u square plus 2j. This is fine. It's always correct actually. Okay. So wrap it up. The corresponding maximum range can be figured out. The corresponding maximum range on the ground, rather. The corresponding max range. S max. That was turning out to be something like u by g into root over of u square plus 2j. This was the formula I wrote down earlier. Okay, I can just pull out u, so I get u square by g multiplied by 1 plus 2gh by u square. We notice it is nothing but u square by g is the maximum horizontal range of the ground, by the way. It has been multiplied by this factor, 1 root 1 plus 2gh by u square. We just calculated the entire thing root 3 in fact. So I get u square by g into root 3. U is 196, u square is 196. 196 by 9.8. That becomes how much? 98 and 10 goes up. So we get 20 root 3. That is what we have. 20 root 3 meters is the required answer. Ryan, that was the general expression. That is indeed correct. That is also valid for a negative h, by the way. Maximum angle for a maximum range that I wrote down earlier. I wrote down for that case. The formula is this. This is what we have. This is the corresponding angle for the maximum range. Either from a height of a tower, even it's also valid if it is thrown from, no, not other 30 degree. That is obviously for this particular case. I've chosen the values over there. Arey, Ankit, I said so. How come d becomes 0? Okay, you see, Ankit, what happened? I had earlier written down an expression that because tan theta must be a real number, the discriminant must be more than equal to 0. So I started with that condition. And based on that condition, we end up getting that s was less than equal to something. Okay, so by using the fact that d must be more than equal to, d more than equal to 0, it gave us s less than equal to some expression you got. This one, simply put the numbers right. I have written down S max, the formula I have written down, and simplified it to get 20 root 3 meter. Can anybody again take up snapshot, by the way, and post it in the group? Anyone?
So doing wait.
Sir, doing.
Okay, somebody done it. Fine. Ankit, so what I was saying is, because assumption that d is more than or equal to 0 gave us s less than or equal to that expression, u by g into root over of u square plus 2gh. Right? You can just look at the group, okay? So now the point is when, so s was actually coming out to be bounded, okay? S was in this case coming out to be less than a certain expression. That was definitely the maximum possible value. Now what I wanted in this case was that s should be the maximum value. Isn't that what I want? I want in this case that the distance s must be as large as possible. I was actually getting in this case s less than or equal to a value which was u by g into root over of u square plus 2g. That was a value which I wrote down as s max actually. So from this expression, this fact that d is less than or equal to 0 or more than or equal to 0.
Oh, sir, the S maximum we have put the equal to sign.
D equal to 0.
No, sir. For making no. Sir, for making the S max, we have put the equal to sign.
Yes.
Oh, acha, got it, sir. Got it.
Okay. It has to be
Thank you,
because
sir.
s was bounded by this number. So s, I want that s to be largest possible. So that implies that s must be this value, s max. And if that is equal to 1 over here, you just go back and therefore it gives us d equal to 0 as well. Okay, fine. Okay, I hope everything is clear from this one. Yes, what I was saying is this formula is not only valid for a height, but also for a depth, by the way. If I, for example, throw this object from a valley, for example, there's something height like this, and I just throw some stone from here. I just want this to be, say, well, technically speaking, it will not be exactly that way, by the way. But what I'm doing is I'm standing in a depth. Okay, I'm just throwing stones from a valley. Okay, not a tower over here, but a valley. This is right now a valley below the entire thing, and from this valley, I just throw stones. So if I want the stone to be striking as far as possible this particular plateau, which is over here. In that case, I need to throw it, and the speed is fixed. If I throw it obviously at different angles, obviously if the angle is too less, in that case it's going to strike over there. It will not go up over there. But if I want that it should be thrown so that it can strike as far as possible this plane over here, then I can actually obtain this one from here as well, because I'll put h as negative. Okay, then will give us the required result. But obviously in that case the theta will be bounded, because it may happen for certain speed it is no longer possible to throw it above the cliff actually. So that is obviously going to be one possibility, but this is applicable even then. That's what I'm saying over there. Fine. Okay. Okay, there's some conceptual question, by the way. Say, for example, that there's a hunter who is sighting there's a tree from on which there's a monkey who's sitting on a branch, for example. There's a monkey who is just enjoying some fruit sitting on a branch in this case. Fine. And there is no, I don't know, there's some mischievous hunter who is trying to shoot this monkey. There's aiming exactly at the monkey. Okay, there's a straight line like this. This hunter is aiming the gun at the monkey. I don't know why somebody want to shoot a monkey, right? But anyway, the point is that this hunter is, yes, it is animal abuse, definitely. Okay, technically not a good thing. That is why I would like the monkey to be saved. In fact, the question, however, is if when this hunter fires a gun, the monkey, listening to the shot, simply drops. Okay, he just leaves the branch and drops in free fall. So in that case, what do you think? Will he be saved, the monkey, or he is a bit unfortunate over there?
So maybe unfortunate.
Maybe unfortunate. So the bullet is going to hit the monkey. Okay. Well, right.
Sir,
Sir, is the bullet supersonic or subsonic?
Oh, does it matter? However, I'm neglecting the air resistance. Okay, the air resistance is not there. On this,
Sir, it will depend upon the time of reaction.
let us say that the reaction is instant. Okay, or maybe we can forget about the monkey. Instead, we can arrange for a setup where there is a dummy monkey placed over there, and we have a mechanism such that the moment I pull the trigger, that mechanism releases the
Yes, that is okay.
better, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, sir, better.
Basically, let us say that we have a tether to which this monkey had been suspended from a rope, effectively from some particular rope. We have suspended it, and the moment I pull the trigger, there is a mechanism which releases the rope. Fine. So that what?
Sir, where the monkey is triggered means we in which part of the body the monkey is triggered?
Triggered.
Yes, sir. Means in which part it is aimed? I mean that.
Let's say the person is trying for a headshot, by the way. Okay.
Sir, then I think the monkey will be saved.
It will be saved. Rahul, you think?
Sir,
it
will
will not-
depend upon the bullet speed and many other factors.
I am saying neglect all possible factors. Simply make it idealized. There's no air resistance, and the recoil can be neglected. Ryan, you can't hear. I was saying that what will happen to this dummy monkey when the gun is fired? Exactly the same moment, the monkey drops from the branch as well. So, will the monkey be saved by using this particular tactic, or it will be an unfortunate event for the monkey? What do you think? Is it audible, Ryan?
Sir,
Huh?
so even if the recoil is neglected, sir, then also the speed will affect
The speed of?
the bullet.
No. I mean, say the speed is enough so that the bullet is going to reach that much. That much we are assuming.
No, sir, it is enough. But sir, if the monkey is released, then how can it hit? Means the monkey will be saved. Means at
No.
that moment, if the system is releasing the monkey, then
It happens exactly the same system. The
Sir,
moment the
this
trigger is
idea.
pulled,
So it
What?
will hit. So it will hit.
it will hit. Why?
In this case, it will be saved, sir, because it will try its best to save itself from the bullet.
No. I mean, say we are assuming that the monkey cannot internally move. Okay. I mean, say that's why I just changed the monkey
I
to a
can't
dummy
find
monkey.
the physics in it.
There is some physics involved. Obviously, a real life situation, anything can happen.
Sir, but how can we say that? How can we predict without condition?
How can we?
How can we predict without conditions?
I said all are idealized condition. We neglect the air resistance. The monkey, you can in fact think of the monkey as a point object if you wish. Doesn't matter. The monkey is going to be essentially falling in free fall, and the bullet is also falling in free fall. In fact. Okay, Ankit, I just assumed that I said it's a dummy monkey. The point over here is that the initial velocity of the gun doesn't matter actually. Only given the fact that it reaches the monkey or that particular dummy monkey. The point is the vertical motion of both of them are going to be exactly the same. Okay. The fact
No,
is,
vertical acceleration is same. So the velocity with respect to the monkey is constant.
exactly, you can in fact bring in the relative motion over here. That's much useful, by the way. In fact, with respect to the bullet, if I see the situation, or with respect to the monkey, for example, once the monkey has left the branch, or once it is just falling freely, once the monkey or the dummy monkey has now airborne or it's basically falling freely, the fact is the acceleration is going to be g downwards. Its acceleration will be g downwards, and that of the bullet is also g downwards. In fact, though it has some initial velocity, but the acceleration is also g. So the relative acceleration, if I consider, is simply 0, which implies with respect to the monkey, the bullet will simply move with a uniform velocity, because relative to the monkey, there is no acceleration of the bullet, because they both suffer the same acceleration. Earlier I've said that the acceleration of A with respect to B is the acceleration of A, or acceleration of monkey with respect to the bullet, or the bullet with respect to the monkey, by the way. Is nothing but that of the bullet minus that of the monkey. But they are both the same. Once the monkey releases the branch over there, in that case, the acceleration is same for both of them, equal to g, and therefore the relative acceleration turns out to be 0, which implies, as seen by the monkey, the
Sir,
bullet will travel a straight line path over there, and therefore it's going to hit over there.
sir, if the range of the bullet is only not up to the monkey, sir, then
In that way, assuming I said, we can obviously bring up so many factors over there, but I'm just saying, assuming that the bullet reaches the monkey. Yes, Ryan, sadly so. But actually, the best bet will be to stay over there, isn't it? That will be the best bet. Obviously, the headshot, that the bullet will not go down so much over there. Well, Onik, actually, these things are being utilized by the snipers, by the way. Okay, see, if you have, for example, those sniper are there who are taking those long shots over there. In that case, everything has to be considered. You'll have to kind of consider the drift of the air and the type of the gun as well, and how much is the recoil. All things have to be taken into account. That does happen, in fact. So it is not simply that, okay, you have a gun,
Sir.
you just close the eye and fire over there. Yes.
Sir, imagine this being in PUBG.
Yes, I mean, if there is a bird, then obviously situations are different, because a bird can fly horizontally, for example, in which case going to understood partially. Why, or could be why partially? Why not completely? It is useful to think of. You see, the point is, for the vertical displacement, if you consider, it is going to be same for both of them. You notice that if you look at the equation I wrote down earlier, I wrote down displacement, or the position rather, was ut vector plus half gt square. Now, half gt square will be same for both the persons, both the monkey, the dummy monkey, and the gun, a bullet rather. So that will be the same thing over there. Just moment, I'm coming. Yes, physics everywhere. Anak. Okay, I mean, say, I hope Autodeep, is it clear now? I mean, instead of partially, is it completely clear or no?
sir,
Bolo.
sir, it is really becoming, sir, difficult, sir. Sir, I can visualize the situation, sir, but means how can it means reach?
You see, you should not for there are few things, by the way, you should understand always. When we talk about physical situation, we do not talk about the actual real situation. Okay, I mean, all the things that we're doing, they're not technically speaking the reality you're talking about, because reality is very complicated. Okay, we must model a situation, and this model is the one which we are studying. In fact, okay, I mean, all the laws, for example, they are not exactly the way they are going to work in day-to-day life actually, because in a real life situation, there are so many parameters. It becomes very difficult to control them. That is why most of the time what we do is we just take a model of it. So I just talk about, and for example, projectile, I'm actually doing a lot of things. We are, for example, neglecting the air resistance, we're neglecting that. We're also neglecting the Earth's rotation, in fact, it will also be affected. In fact, if some projectile flies a long distance range, then the rotation of Earth also comes into picture. That also kind of deviates the object from this path, okay? There are many other factors there that may affect. We can, for example, the bullet does not come out properly. That is also going to be there. So the idea is what? We kind of idealize the problem. Okay, we can just, well, it hardly matters regarding the mass, Ryan. Obviously, yes, or Pradeep, you were saying something?
Sir, yes, sir. That means if the monkey decides to be there in its position, then there will be more chance of it to get saved.
Exactly. There will be more chance because the bullet will go down. However, it won't go so much down, but the chance is more, however.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
sir.
Yes.
Now I got.
Fact is, gravity is always pulling things down. In this case, the easier thing to prove this is by using the relative motion. With respect to one of them, either the monkey or the bullet. With respect to the monkey, for example, it is quite trivial that once he releases the branch and falling freely, then the path of the bullet, as seen by the monkey, is going to be straight line passing through the monkey itself. So that is bound to be hit over there. Okay, that is useful. Therefore, if it stays at its own location, obviously the bullet is moving so fast that it will not fall enough down, isn't it? Gravity part, the gravity is pulling Shubhankar. Gravity pulls everything. So the relative acceleration is zero. That's what I'm saying. Relative to one of them, the other one is simply moving a straight line. The relative motion, because they have the same acceleration, so the relative acceleration becomes zero, and therefore the relative velocity is constant, and therefore the path must be straight line. Relative motion, yes, exactly, because the acceleration. So you see that the motion or the path does depend on the reference frame. From the ground, the path of the bullet is not exactly a straight line, just a parabolic path. This will be moving something like an exaggerated diagram will be like this. Obviously, an exaggeration, it will not go so much down by the, but yet that is what is going to happen to the path of the bullet. But with respect to the monkey, the path of the bullet is a straight line. It just goes straight this way. That is with respect to the monkey. Okay. So the path does depend on the choice of the reference over there. Fine. So the idea is that it will be obviously hit in this case. So a bit of unfortunate over there. Anyway, that will be all for today. But before we go, there's just take one question as a homework. Okay. Try it and do not fret much if you are not able to do that. The question is a very interesting one. Yes, Ryan, the bullet has a high speed, but not infinite speed, by the way. The bullet has a very high speed. So it will still have to come down. Okay, no matter how high or how fast it moves, it will have to come down because it can't escape the gravity. Okay. Yes, if you fire it at the speed of say around 11.2 kilometers per second, then it's going to escape by the way. Then it's going to not come back. Okay. There's escape speed over there. But normally the speed of the bullet is not that much. Even supersonic bullets are high caliber over there. Okay? You do not normally go to game for by using a supersonic bullet actually. Yes, escape velocity is what I said, Nick. 11.2 kilometers per second. Yes, that's what it is. Obviously, Ankit will give a huge recoil definitely. But yes, first of all, look at the question that I have in mind. Say there's a tree trunk. There's a park or the jungle where a tree has fallen, and this is the circular cross section of tree. Okay, this is a circular cross section of the tree. It has just been cut, or it is basically fallen. The radius of this tree trunk is capital R. Yes, Anand, that is correct. You know, in fact, very early people used to believe that if you kind of fire a bullet and drop it on the other hand just at rest, very early, according to very earlier philosophers like Aristotle, for example, they thought that okay, the bullet which has been fired, it will actually go like this and then fall like this. That is how they thought. They thought that by the time or as long as the bullet is moving, there's a force pushing it, and therefore it will move. But once the force pushing it is gone, it is going to come down. That was what they thought actually. It was definitely not correct.
Yes, sir. Sir, you gave it.
Yes, I gave it in the projectile over there. Anyway, the question over here says that there's a grasshopper, okay, lazy grasshopper effectively. So there's a grasshopper somewhere over here. A tiny insect is what they have. Think of it like almost a well, it's a bad grasshopper, but nevertheless, we have a grasshopper over there. It's sitting over there, very tiny insect. There's a tree trunk which is fallen in its path. It's a cylindrical tree trunk effectively. I'm looking at the cross section, okay? So this Okay, fine. I'll just click it. Hold on a moment, Priyanjana. I'll just click it a moment and send it up. Okay. There is a grasshopper. A better diagram will be good. It's almost the same. There's a grasshopper. And there's a tree trunk which has fallen. Cylindrical tree trunk. The radius is capital R. So the question is, what happens is we need to figure out what the grasshopper is a lazy grasshopper, so it just wants to exert the minimum possible effort over there. So the question is to find the minimum speed with which the grasshopper should jump in order to cross the tree trunk. The minimum speed with which the grasshopper must jump this should be the other black pen on this one. Grasshopper must jump in order to cross the tree trunk. Okay, that is the question. Now, can someone take a snapshot and post it, by the way?
Sir, is it root over 40r by sine square theta?
What?
Root over
No.
40r by sine square.
No, that's not correct. There is no theta, by the way. I haven't given the angle. You see this? I require the answer in terms of GR. It is quite obviously going to be dimensionally root of GR multiplied with some number. That number is what I want, in fact. Okay. That'll be a homework. Try it. Don't worry much about whether you can do it or not. For the moment, just try it up. And I'll just post some couple of more questions.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, how far is the grasshopper from the trunk?
That is not given. There's a beauty of this question, by the way. Nothing seems to be given. It can just go closer or farther. Arrange in such a way that it requires the least effort to jump. That's what the idea is. Okay. So many
Sir?
parameters involved. Yes.
So what have you done the lazy grasshopper?
Yes, lazy grasshopper. Grasshoppers are always lazy, by the way. You know that? And the question is to find out the minimum speed with which the grasshopper must jump in order to cross a tree trunk. Okay. That will be all for today, by the way. We shall finish it now. It's already 10, going to be 10 by the way, so that will be a bit late today.
Does it have infinite energy?
Who has infinite energy, by the way?
Sir, this grasshopper?
No. It doesn't have infinite energy. It does have finite energy.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay.